Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Listen, if you're watching this, there's a really good chance you are standing in your laundry room right now, staring at a flashing digital display on your LG washer and just wondering what on earth your machine is trying to tell you. Well, don't panic. Today, we are delivering a clear, totally fluff-free diagnosis of what those letters actually mean and exactly what you need to do about them. Okay, let's dive right in.
Seeing cryptic two-letter codes like OE, UE, or DE flashing on your console is, well, it's undeniably frustrating. You just want clean clothes. You don't want a puzzle to solve, right? But I want to reassure you right out of the gate, seeing one of these codes is definitely not a catastrophe. It's actually your washer being incredibly helpful. Instead of making you guess why the cycle randomly stopped, it's handing you the exact starting point to figure out the problem.
So, here is our quick triage framework for today's explainer. We'll hit 1. Decoding errors. 2. The power cycle. 3. The big 5 codes. 4. DIY versus pro fixes. And finally, 5. San Diego solutions.
All right, section 1. Decoding errors and reading those LG displays. So here's a fascinating technical quirk that's totally unique to LG displays. Letter case actually matters. A lowercase UE means the washer has detected an unbalanced load, sure, but it's actively trying to autocorrect the issue itself by adding water and shifting things around. You literally don't need to do anything yet. But in uppercase UE, that means the machine has run through all its redistribution attempts, it threw in the towel, and it stopped the cycle entirely. It's a subtle difference, but knowing it saves you from interrupting a machine that's actively fixing itself.
Moving on to section 2, the power cycle. Think of this as your first aid reset.
This right here is the absolute golden rule of appliance troubleshooting. Step 1, unplug the washer. Step 2, wait 1 full minute. And step 3, plug it back in. Now, the absolutely crucial part is that second step. You can't just quickly unplug it and plug it right back in. You must wait a full 60 seconds. Why? Because this allows the internal control board to fully discharge and reset. A surprising number of these error codes are literally just temporary glitches caused by a brief power fluctuation. If a power cycle clears it, boom, you're good to go. But if the code comes right back, well, then we move to a real diagnosis.
Which brings us to section 3, the big 5 codes. These are your most common service calls.
These 5 codes, they are your ultimate cheat sheet. They cover the vast majority of all LG service calls. When you see OE, think outlet or drainage. UE is your load balance. IE is inlet, which means water supply. DE is your door lock, and LE points straight to the motor or rotor. Let's break this down into actionable steps for each specific code.
Let's start with OE, the outlet error. Basically, the machine is trying to push water out, but it's hitting a roadblock. Your usual suspect is hiding right in plain sight. It's the drain pump filter, located at the bottom front of the machine. That thing catches lint, coins, hair ties, and, that $5 bill you forgot in your jeans. Oh, and also, just peek behind the machine to make sure your main drain hose isn't kinked against the wall.
Next up is UE, the unbalanced load. Remember our earlier point about the uppercase letters? If it's an uppercase UE, the machine has officially given up. This almost always happens when you try to wash a single bulky item like a heavy winter jacket, a bath rug, or a massive comforter. The weight just bunches to one side during the spin cycle, and the machine stops to protect itself from tearing apart. The fix is super easy. Just open the door, redistribute the items evenly, and restart. Now, if you get this code constantly, even on normal loads, check the bottom of the machine to ensure all 4 feet are actually touching the floor and the washer is perfectly level.
Then we have IE, the inlet error. The washer wants to start, but it's thirsty. It couldn't fill with water fast enough. Before you jump to the conclusion that the machine is busted, check the obvious stuff. Are the hot and cold water faucets on the wall behind the machine actually turned open all the way? A valve that's only turned halfway will restrict the flow enough to trigger an IE code for sure. And, just like with the drain, double-check that the inlet hoses aren't bent or crushed.
Now, if you live in Southern California, pay very close attention to this next detail. If you unscrew those inlet hoses from the back of the washer, you'll see these small mesh screens inside the inlet ports. As our source highlights, San Diego's water has a really high mineral content, what we all call hard water. Over time, that mineral buildup acts literally like cement. It completely clogs those tiny screens, starves the machine of water, and throws that IE code. Honestly, a quick scrub with a small brush under running water is often the only fix you need.
Moving right along to DE, or door error. Look, your washer simply won't run if it thinks the door is open. But before you assume the electronic lock assembly is completely fried, inspect the rubber boot seal.
That's the big gray gasket around the door opening. It is incredibly common for a stray sock or a tiny piece of laundry to get trapped right between the door glass and that rubber seal, which prevents the latch from fully engaging. Finally, to round out the big five, we have LE, the locked rotor error. This means the main motor is struggling to turn. Now, I know this sounds super serious, but the most common cause is actually just an overstuffed drum. If you pack the washer absolutely full of heavy wet towels, the weight can literally stall the rotor. The quick triage here: take half the wet clothes out, select a short spin cycle, and see if the motor turns freely again.
All right, Section 4, DIY versus Pro Fixes. When is it time to call in for backup?
Let's quickly summarize your 5-minute DIY fixes. Clean that drain pump filter for OE, redistribute bulky items for UE. Clean those hard water clogged screens for IE. We've also got a couple of bonus codes here that honestly trick a lot of people. SUD or SCUD, that just means there are way too many suds in the drum. Usually that's because you use too much detergent or maybe a non-HE formula. Just wait it out and use a little less next time. And CL? Yeah, that's not an error at all. It just means the child lock is turned on. Hold the child lock button on your panel for 3 seconds to turn it right off.
But here is the hard truth of the matter. If you've done the power cycle reset, you've checked all the filters, the hoses, and the load size, and that error code pops right back up, it means a component inside the machine has actually mechanically or electrically failed. At this point, there is no secret button combination that's going to fix a broken part.
When those codes persist, here's what's usually failing behind the scenes. A stubborn OE means the drain pump motor is probably burned out. A stubborn IE means the water inlet valve solenoids have failed. If DE1 or DE2 won't go away, that physical door lock assembly needs replacing. An LE returning on a totally empty drum points to a bad rotor sensor or stator. And if you happen to see FE, PE, or TE, those are complex electrical faults involving pressure sensors and thermistors. Those absolutely require a professional with a multimeter to safely diagnose.
Which brings us to our final section, San Diego solutions for same-day repair. If you happen to be in San Diego County, Repair Pros San Diego has massive coverage. We're talking from Chula Vista in the South Bay all the way up the coast to Carlsbad and Oceanside and inland to El Cajon and Escondido. And honestly, the best part? Their technicians actually carry the most common LG parts, like those drain pumps, inlet valves, and door lock assemblies right on their trucks. This means the vast majority of these error code repairs can be completely wrapped up on the very first visit.
So if you're stuck, you can reach them directly at 858-988-7787. They offer same-day service for most areas, and they do a flat-rate $89 diagnostic to pinpoint exactly which part failed. And here's a nice bonus. That fee is actually credited directly toward the cost of the repair with 0 hidden trip fees.
So we've decoded the display, we walked through the mandatory power cycle, and we've separated the quick DIY fixes from the real mechanical failures. You can use the knowledge from this explainer to go check your filters and hoses right now. And hey, if it is a hardware failure, well, you now know exactly what to tell the technician. But it does leave you with a bigger question to ponder. If you can conquer the secret language of your LG washer today, what other appliances in your home are just sitting there, waiting for you to crack their code? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy troubleshooting.